and welcome to Just a Minute, this delightful and often outrageous game. And I have four delightful and outrageous players of the game who have joined me today. Let us first of all welcome a fine writer and also raconteur and comedian, Barry Cryer. And beside Barry, an irrepressible comedian, Su Pollard. And on my left, that fine art critic, Brian Sewell, and beside him, the political correspondent, John Sargent. Please welcome all four of them. And as usual in this game, I'm going to ask them to speak on a subject that I will give them, and they will try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviating from the subject. They will score points according to how well they challenge. You'll see how it all goes as we start the show with Barry Cryer. Barry, shorthand. That's the subject. Tell us something about it in this game, starting now.
Isaac Pitman invented shorthand as he found longhand too arduous and time-consuming. An amazing man who had a kidney shaped like a dressing table. He decided that too much of his life had been spent transcribing words at too slow a speed. He therefore...
And John Sargent, you challenged.
Yes, hesitation. He was slipping over speed.
He was slipping just a little, yes. John, you have a correct challenge, because I think it was hesitation, so you get a point for that, and you take over the subject of shorthand, and there are 45 seconds available starting now.
As a journalist, I'm often asked, how good is your shorthand? And my usual answer is excellent. I work very well with a ballpoint pen, with tremendous little twists and turns, as you would expect from someone who was trained as a Pitman writer. But on the other hand, I have to explain that when I come to try to read it back, I can't. So...
Barry, you
Hesitation.
Yes, I think that was hesitation.
Slippering all over the place.
No, because there was a... wait a moment. No, I don't think that's fair. There was a perfectly sensible, I thought, well-deserved laugh.
I know, and it didn't
from
come,
the
John.
audience. I thought I would wait to allow it to build before I came back in sharply.
There's one thing about
the
writing the laughs and trying to go through it. There's another thing, waiting for a laugh, which never comes. John, no, you did very well, and you're trying very hard, but you had Barry on a very niggling hesitation, and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt and say, Barry, correct challenge to you. You have a point for that, of course. You take back the subject of shorthand. There are 24 seconds available starting now.
The inventor I mentioned earlier wrote to his lady friend Fanny Waterman, not her real name, but a pen of that description. And...
John, challenge.
And straightforward We all heard it.
Yes, there was.
To
There was
err
a
is
dreadful
human.
no, to err is to go wrong.
Don't rub it in, John. I agree with the challenge. You have the subject back with you, shorthand, and another point, of course, and there are 17 seconds starting now.
The most important point about my shorthand, as I've tried to explain...
Brian Sewell's challenge.
Point and ball point. He had a ball point.
He had a ball point before, and then I was talking about point. That is a repetition of the same word. Well listened, Brian, yes.
In the House of Commons, the Speaker wouldn't have stopped that.
This is not the House of Commons, thank goodness.
I thought that's where we were.
The participants in the House, in the House of Commons are dafter than we are. So of course it wouldn't be there, wouldn't it?
But they don't get so many laughs, and they don't get that kind of rounds of applause either. So, Brian, I agree. Well listened. He did repeat the point.
Don't tell me what the subject is. I forgot. It's so long since we've been discussing.
Brian, I always give the subject before anybody starts, and it is shorthand, and you have 14 seconds starting now.
A shorthand is a man who is employed at very short notice.
And whose challenge? It was John.
Deviation.
Why?
Well, this very short man at short notice.
No.
It doesn't matter. No, John.
And we were wandering off, weren't we, into people who are very tall and very short.
You are getting political like they do by
Can we
politicians.
just clear up this point? Are we talking about shorthand writing or people with very short hands?
No, Brian, tell us.
We are talking about shorthand, and shall I begin?
Brian, you're going to begin in a moment.
Right.
Let me explain to John, because I don't want him to get into like a politician and niggle over things that don't matter. In just a minute, you can interpret the word in any way you wish, as long as you do not hesitate, repeat another word, or deviate from the subject. Brian was going off in his own particular way, as he usually does, and I think it was quite an enchanting way, actually. So we'll hear from Brian, having got a point for an incorrect challenge. He has 9 seconds available, starting now.
A shorthand is... I've already said that. How about...
You can.
Well, carry on. No one's challenged you quickly. Oh, you lost it.
No, you encouraged me, Chairman.
I know. Right. Hesitation. You've got him with 2 seconds to go. Shorthand, John, starting now.
Shorthand is a way
And you proud challenge.
Smugness.
Right.
Repetition of smugness.
A bonus,
No.
a bonus point to Barry because we enjoyed his interruption, but John was interrupted. John, you have half a second on shorthand, starting now.
Shorthand is...
There's the whistle. Whoever is speaking, or even endeavouring to speak when the whistle goes, gains an extra point. On this occasion, it was John Sargent. John has taken a commanding lead at the end of that round. And who's going to take the next round? Su Pollard. Oh, yes, let's hear from you, Sue. Here's a lovely subject for you. Chocoholics. Tell us something about Chocoholics in just a minute, starting now.
Several people...
Hesitation.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, excuse me, I was gulping. Copious amounts of air, because at this point I really wanted to get through the whole of the minute, you see.
But Sue, darling, I have to interrupt you,
Yes,
because, I mean, they don't always challenge quite as rapid as that. But I have to tell you, I've got a clock in front of me, and it says you went for 3 seconds gulping without saying a word. And that must be interpreted as hesitation. Barry.
Yes.
You have a correct challenge for hesitation, and you have 57 seconds starting on Chocoholics, starting now.
One of the most illustrious Chocoholics must have been Willy Wonka, the well-known misprint, who inhabited...
John Sargent has challenged.
You can't be a misprint. Willy Wonka can't be a misprint.
John
He was
Sargent.
known
His name was
affectionately as a misprint. That was the context, John.
I
Well,
recognise
we
the
didn't get
problems that some of the politicians have when you're chatting to them now, John. It was a correct challenge. You have a point. You have 49 seconds. You have Chocoholics starting now.
Chocoholics are particularly pleased when they see on a menu "Death by Chocolate" written in the dessert section.
Yes?
Yes, I think John realises that there was a slight sort of hesitation, and he realised what he said then, didn't he? And was quite...
2 realises.
Sit down, darling.
I'm explaining.
Darling, sit down, please.
Yes, OK,
please.
fine.
Play the game. I will give it to you. You have the subject.
I like to stand up because sometimes your things get creased
know.
while you sat down.
You have 40 seconds. Chocoholics starting now.
Many people throughout the world have been afflicted with Eve's syndrome, eat and be sick, the prime subject of which is attributed to chocolate. Unfortunately, for those addicted to this devious and abysmal form of dessert, it can be...
Barry, you've
How
challenged.
can chocolate be devious?
Well, it is because it is telling you one thing, but it's actually making you react in a different way.
Listen,
so
Sue,
it has
you
a
don't
devious
justify
way.
that. Listen,
Chocolate talks to you.
Well, it does in a form of physicality.
Well, Sue, I'm with you. I mean,
Yeah.
the idea of chocolate can be very devious to some people. So I'm going to give Sue the benefit of the doubt and ask her to continue, having taken her gulps, for 23 seconds on Chocoholics, starting now.
Unfortunately, to a lot of people who do find this...
Brian.
I think she said unfortunately in the last gulp.
She did, unfortunately, yes. So you did have said that before. That is repetition, so Brian, you have a point now, and you have 19 seconds on Chocoholics, starting now.
I want to tell you about the Emperor Heliogabalus, who was one of the late and more decadent emperors of Rome. He came from Syria and brought Eastern nasty habits with him, one of which was to force the senators of Rome to...
John.
2 mentions of Rome.
Yes, I'm afraid there were, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Listen, I have to do it's not your...
I want to take
You
the
can't
panel
run
with
the show
me.
as well as participate. John Sargent, you have a correct challenger point, of course. 4 seconds on Chocoholics, starting now.
The trouble about the use...
Brian, you challenged.
That was a pronounced hesitation.
You're right, he went for 2 seconds without saying anything. So, Brian, you
My
cleverly
God.
got him with 2 seconds to go on Chocoholics, starting now.
That was a...
Why have you challenged?
So
Yes.
was that.
No, it wasn't. He started instantaneously. I will not have it. Right, Brian, you've got another point. You've got another challenge against you. You've got 1 second or less. Chocoholics. Yes, starting now. Yes, you've been challenged again. Another
Perfectly
incorrect
obvious
challenge. You have another point, Brian Sewell. Right?
Hesitation saying at the beginning.
Yes.
Brian did not start speaking until I had said now. So he came before he was supposed to start.
Yeah.
So he was an incorrect challenge, and he has half a second on Chocoholics, starting now.
Half the courtiers for Rome.
Oh, well, there's really I said before in this highly animated show, whoever is speaking or endeavouring to speak when the whistle goes gains the extra point. It was the case. Brian Sewell. And Brian had got many points in that round. He's leapt forward. He's now equal with John Sargent, who is so competitive. We've never had anyone like him on Just a Minute, but I won't inhibit it. We will keep it going and say that it's Brian Sewell's turn to begin. Brian, the subject is Euro. Tell us something about that in this game, starting now.
Euro is really a prefix, Rod.
Sue.
Obviously can't speak. I mean, it's just quite obvious.
I'm actually very glad to lose the subject.
Sue, you have a correct challenge. You have the Euro, and you have 57 seconds, starting now.
The Euro has become a bone of contention with several worldwide leaders. The firstly and most important thing being...
Barry Crow's challenge.
Well, nearly repeated leader. Does that count?
Barry challenged. Barry, the subject is Euro, and you have 51 seconds, starting now.
As a swimmer in the Euro septic tank, I have always regarded that continent with acute suspicion. Accused me of being a little Englander, jingoistic,
Yes.
xenophobic.
Oh, I think I made a
Yes, you
terrible...
have done it, yes.
He didn't say accused twice, did he?
No, he didn't. No. But so he was interrupted, so he gets a point for that.
Yeah.
And he continues for 42 seconds on the Euro, starting now.
The very word inspires in me paranoia, apprehension, and an acute feeling of isolation. We, this small island, this precious jewel set in a silver sea, isolated.
Yes? What's the matter, Sue?
I'm sure he said C twice.
No.
Didn't he say C earlier?
No, I said...
Isolated.
I've isolated, and then I'm...
I think you're all getting far too competitive. Let the show flow a little. Barry, an incorrect challenge. Continue for 30 seconds on the Euro, starting now.
And indeed, I sometimes wake in a morning and think, you are wrong, revise your thoughts. Think again about the continent across the channel, La Manche, as our French colleagues call it. And then, thank
John,
you, John, I'm so
It's
grateful.
Le Manche.
It's Le Mange, or not La
It's
Mange.
Le Manche. Perfectly straightforward French.
Wonderful gentleman.
John, you get more pompous by the minute.
Well, I just thought we were on a proper sort of bilingual show. I didn't know that we were doing...
We're also on a comedy show as well, so pomposity
Right.
over the top, right.
We often have misplaced articles, it happens.
Right.
No, Le Mange, I agree. Within the rules of Just a Minute, correct challenge. John, you have the subject of the Euro, and there are 16 seconds starting now.
The Euro is one of those topics which the Americans call mega subjects, M-E-G-O. Mine eyes glaze over. Journalists find them very interesting.
You say M-E-G-O?
Yes?
Mega?
Mega subjects.
M-E-G-O.
Ah, not mega on its own, it's M-E-G-A.
Why do the Americans
isn't it?
say M-E-G-O when they want to say mega?
He's just explained that.
I've just
to you.
explained that. They are, it's the first letter of the words mine, M,
Yes.
eyes, E, glaze, G, and O for over. Mego.
Oh, I see.
A mego subject.
I don't mean
It's
we
a
have
technical term.
Right, so it was an incorrect challenge. You have 6 seconds on no, not the mega, He's got me so confused now. The Euro, starting now.
The most important thing you have to know about the euro at the moment is that it does not exist as banknotes. It exists inside of them.
Oh. So, John Sargent was then speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point for doing so, even though Sue spotted a repetition, but challenged just a teeny weeny bit too late. John has increased his lead. He's just ahead of Brian Sewell. He's 1 point ahead of Barry Crowder, and then it's Su Pollard in that order. And doesn't matter. It's a contribution, my love.
What's the definition of depressed?
John Sargent, it's your turn to begin. A good Samaritan. No, wait till I say now, otherwise we're going to have the same problems before. 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
A good Samaritan can be extremely boring if you follow them behind them in the street.
Follow them behind. Follow them
If you follow them behind them.
Okay, I'm going now. That's it. I'm finished.
Oh, no,
I've done
you've done
my
ever so
best.
well.
I am so happy I have said
It's
it.
horrible when everyone gangs up against you. It's
No,
just,
it isn't.
it really can be horrible.
We've been hoisted on your own grammatical petard.
All right.
So,
Yeah. Oh, la.
correct challenge, Brian Sewell. You have a good Samaritan, 55 seconds starting now.
A good Samaritan is one who sits in an office answering the telephone when people who wish to commit suicide or who have already taken far too many drugs and will not recover if somebody does not do something about it rather quickly.
John Sargent.
Two somethings.
Two somethings, I'm afraid, so yes. You have the subject back again?
I'm not going to argue.
Yeah, but
We have enough
Oh, right.
Listen, don't you keep joining in on everybody else's argument, please, Sue.
well, he's got a ploy. He mumbles, so you can't tell anything he's said. So you have to dive in where you think necessary and hope for the best.
You can't all shout like you.
How do? Sorry. No projection, Brian.
John Sargent, it is your turn to begin. No, it isn't your turn to begin. John, you have the subject for a correct challenge. And there are 43 seconds, and it is a good Samaritan starting now.
A good Samaritan makes you think, what about bad Samaritans or average to good? You never hear about them.
You,
The
Barry?
subject is good Samaritans, not bad or...
No, that's a nitpicky type of challenge. No. You can still compare them with... He wasn't actually deviating from a good Samaritan.
There was a
He said
hesitation.
There was a
Yeah.
hesitation.
But you did not challenge for hesitation, so I have
Well,
to
we
confirm
were
with
waiting for you to adjudicate on the challenge that there was.
you. We cannot have a secondary challenge or a supplementary
he
challenge.
said two goods.
My goodness,
He said two goods.
I know, darling.
I'm just
a good is on the
challenging.
subject, is on the card, a good Samaritan, so you can repeat it. You can repeat the subject on the card as often as you wish, within reason.
Oh, sorry, I thought I was on Ready, Steady, Cook. I've just been confused. I'm really sorry. I thought I was a green apple and a red pepper. Suddenly realised, wrong programme.
John Sargent, it was an incorrect challenge.
Yes, thank you,
You
Chairman.
could have been had for hesitation, but nobody
I'm
did.
beginning to like you a lot more now. The more we work, the more I like you.
A good
Wonderful.
Samaritan, with you, Johns. And there are 36 seconds starting now.
So how can you tell whether someone is a good Samaritan? You can tell because...
Yes, well done,
Yes.
Brian. Tell.
2 times.
Repetition, 32 seconds for
Yeah,
Brian Sewell
yeah.
on a good Samaritan now, starting.
I don't think I want this subject. It's far too boring.
And Barry got in first.
I was doing it on behalf of Brad. He doesn't want the subject.
So he hesitated, so they have the subject, and you have 28 seconds, another point, of course, a good Samaritan starting now.
Our noble Home Secretary Jack Straw approached a boy expectorating and spitting in the street with no fear of the consequences or physical harm that might befall him, although he was, albeit accompanied by his security entourage. He then went on television, radio and in the public prints to inform us of this and exhort us to.
Was this on Clapham Common?
What I do there is give a bonus point to Brian Sewell for a comment that we love so much. But as Barry Cryer was interrupted, he gets a point for the interruption, and he continues, and there are 10 seconds available, a good Samaritan starting now.
Have a go was the maxim he exhorted from us and indeed to us and by us, and I wish I was dead.
Yes, all us.
Yes, darling, I agree with your challenge. It's all right. You don't have to fight for it all the time.
Oh, I'm so, but I get so excited.
I know
it's
you
like
do,
when you're
and
going
it's
down the
lovely.
aisle.
It doesn't show, Sue. It doesn't show.
Sue
on that railway
Pollard, you have 4 seconds to tell us something about a good Samaritan starting now.
And it's wonderful when you get...
Brian Sewell challenge.
That was a definite
Yes,
hesitation.
I'm afraid you went for 2.5 seconds.
You were
Oh, you're
We're
so-
gulping
oh,
again.
You were
Return to
way
the
out.
gulp.
You can't... 2.5 seconds is 1, 2.
And that's what you went for. Brian, you
You're
have another
boiling
point.
an egg.
You have 1.5 seconds on a good Samaritan starting now.
A good Samaritan obviously derives from the good Samaritan.
Brian Sewell was speaking then as the whistle went, gained that extra point for doing so. He's equal with John Sargent in the lead. Then comes Barry Cryer and Su Pollard in that order. And Barry, we're back with you to begin. The subject is fungus. Tell us something about that subject. It's made the audience laugh already. Right. Tell us something about it in this game, starting now.
What do you call a well-endowed muscle?
I knew you were going to tell that gag, and you threw it. Yes, I know it.
It served me right, didn't
I
it?
know. This is the difficulty of the game. He's got a good gag there. John, it was a correct challenge, and... what?
I did. No, my button lit up.
I know, darling, but his came on first.
Did it? No, it didn't.
Come on at once.
Yes, it did.
Sue Pollard, we're going to give it to you because we love you. And you have... Oh, the audience like that, didn't they?
I thought
And
it
the
was
audience love
raining
you as
in
well.
for the minute.
Yeah. Right, you have 58 seconds to tell us something about fungus, starting now.
Fungus is a typically insidious form of horrendous growth that can be found on clothes that have been kept in the cupboard with a lot of damp. Because I know to that effect,
Brian, you're challenged.
I think there's a distinction between fungus and mould.
I think there is. That's mould you're talking about, my love.
Yes, of course it is, but I mean, it's just a posh word for it, really. Isn't it?
Brian, I agree with the challenge. Another point to you, and there are 46 seconds. Fungus, starting now.
When I was in the army, which was a very long time ago, we were warned against various forms of body fungus.
There was a hesitation before body, I thought.
Yeah.
I know, he was struggling to get it going, and, oh, I don't know, it's a difficult decision. All right, yes, we want to hear the joke, Barry, so I give you the benefit of the doubt. I give you the benefit of the
Repetition
doubt.
of the joke,
And
you
I will
mean?
always try and balance this
I
sometime.
can't
later,
repeat the joke.
You haven't started the joke yet.
No, I started it, but if I do it now, it'll be
No, we
repetition.
can remember how it began.
So I'll come in halfway
Yes,
through.
please do.
No, I tell you what, they're going to be very generous. They'll let you repeat the beginning of the
Who
joke.
will?
'Cause they want, John Sargent particularly, because he wants to hear the joke.
No. The thing is to allow him to say the first words of the joke up to the point at which he comes, and then
No, I say no.
you say
well
no.
done, Brian. Would you like to take over?
Please.
So where am I now in this joke?
You have 41 seconds. The subject is fungus. Start telling the joke, and I will say now halfway through. It's absolutely ridiculous idea. You can repeat the
I can
first
change
part.
the wording.
No, listen, you can repeat the first part of the joke, and none of them will challenge you for that. Because we
Right.
want to hear the joke. You have 41 seconds on fungus, starting now.
What do you call a well-endowed mushroom? A fun guy to be with. I remember hearing this from a school chum, a compatriot and colleague of mine at Leeds Grammar Academy of that aforementioned name. His name was Augustus.
Brian, your chance.
Is Yorkshire a different country? He said compatriot.
Yes, he was a compatriot, but he came from Yorkshire. What's wrong
That
with
is
that?
a different country.
No, it isn't.
If you're
it's
from
different
Leeds emotionally, Yorkshire is a country.
There is no such thing as emotion in Leeds.
So, Barry, an incorrect challenge. There are 26 seconds. Fungus, starting now.
Augustus Gridley, a classmate of mine at school, known to everyone as Fun Gus, used to relate jokes having us rolling on the floor, banging our desk lids, flinging bits of chalk, hitting each other with rulers, as he told yet another of his amazing anecdotes. One I call to mind particularly well was regarding the Titanic, which had... Mummy!
It was John Sargent who buzzed first.
Oh, yes.
Oh, well, that's
Little Lord Fauntleroy over there.
Just because I said Le Manche, that's it, isn't
Yes,
it?
I know. Yes,
That's the big
yes.
mistake.
Let's go. It was a correct challenge, and so he got him with 2 seconds to go on fungus. With you, John, starting now.
One of the most exciting fungi, if one can use that.
John Sargent speaking as a whistle end, game the extra point. He's increased his lead just ahead of Brian Sewell, followed by Barry and Sue in that order. And Su Pollard, your turn to begin. Put your water down, take your gulps, get in the mood.
Just a minute.
Have a gulp.
I've got to start laughing now, but I bet it's going to be disastrous again.
No, you'll be fine, Sue.
Yes, right.
You'll get there.
You'll be fine soon. We've all got great confidence in you. You have 60 seconds if you want to use it all, and it's the subject. You can use as many as you like. Bank statements. I'm sure you've got experience of those. Tell us something about them in just a minute, starting now.
Oh, that dreaded day when the awful envelope drops onto the mat and then you understandably want to punch the postman in the face because, on reflection, you realise what is involved with this communication that is inside the envelope. Right, then you pick it up.
Oh, yeah.
Repetition of envelope.
There are too many envelopes.
Oh, is that what I said?
Yes.
Very bad grammar.
Oh, well, at least I will... I was just about to say, at least I won't be returned unopened. With a whistle.
I don't think we'll go down that route too far, if you don't mind. We
Oh,
could
I'm
get
so
very...
upset.
Right, Barry, you had a correct challenge. You have bank statements, and you have 46 seconds starting now.
One of the most amazing bank statements I ever came across was an angler on the riverside who had one arm. And I approached him and said, "How are you getting on?" And he replied, "I've just caught one this big." I had never forgotten that man. I admired him enormously, wanting to be of his ilk myself, with rod and reel and flies and bait. I approached the tailors and said, "I want a suit."
What do you want, Sue?
Well, I think he's doing... Oh, without taking anything away, he was just stunning, is Barry, stunning. But he went... I approached.
And you call that hesitation?
Well, no, because he was falling over his
darling,
teeth.
it was a tough challenge, but we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
I think your earrings are clouding your hearing.
So, come on, Sue, let's hear from you. It was the subject you start with. Carry on with it. You have 23 seconds. Bank statement starting now.
With all the things that Barry has just said, I would like to add to said equipment that people do use when they're out trying to get...
Barry,
I didn't understand a word.
Nor did she.
So, deviation
It
from...
wasn't even gibberish, it was the full gibber.
Barry, you have the subject back again. You have bank statements, and there are 15 seconds starting now.
At the tailor's, I requested a suit of Norfolk tweeds. The practitioner of that sartorial art said, "What?"
Yes,
Sartorial.
sartorial.
Sartorial. Sartorial.
I'm having trouble with my initial letters of words.
I think you're under pressure, and sometimes words come out unintentionally, incorrectly, and we call that deviation from pronunciation, as we understand.
And it is Le Manche, yes.
Right, thank you. All those who travel across La Manche this summer will know all about it because of what we've said on this programme.
Yes, I suppose that's
So, tune in to Just a Minute and have your education improved. So,
Yeah.
John Sargent.
Yes.
This is the last round. There are only 8 seconds available, but it's bank statements with you, John, starting now.
Bank statements used to be very exciting because you wouldn't know what was going to be in your bank. But nowadays, all you've got to do is to find out what's in the cash dispenser or...
And you've, Brian, you've
To
challenged.
what?
And Brian Sewell has got in very cleverly with half a second to go on bank statements starting now.
I don't open your envelope.
So Brian Sewell was then managing to speak as the whistle went, gained that extra point for doing so. And what an exciting contest, and what an overexcited team that I've had to cope with. But points have been scored. Su Pollard came just in 4th place behind Barry Cryer. But equal number of points were scored between Brian Sewell and John Sargent. So we say they are our joint winners today. Oh, we do hope you've enjoyed this edition of Just a Minute. On behalf of our 4 talented players of the game, Barry Cryer, Su Pollard, Brian Sewell, John Sargent and myself, Nicholas Parsons, from them, goodbye. Be with us next time we play Just a Minute. Till then, goodbye.
And that'll be Monday, but at the later time of 1:15 here on BBC One.